I could do that. We've all thought that at least once or twice when we've watched some competitive Pokémon on the big screen. But then it's all, gotta train this, gotta get that. But thanks to Pokémon Champions, you don't gotta train that. You only have to get this. Since I've been having a pretty good time with Champions so far, even hitting eligible tier. Ladies, leave me alone, I'm trying to do my work today. I thought, yeah, let's try going to a local VGC tournament. For the very first time. Basically, I heard the store I usually judge TCG at wanted to try out some friendly video game tournaments with Champions release, and I had nothing better to do. So, let's go 0-3 at locals together. But hold on. Some of you might not exactly know what the world of VGC is. And that's okay! Let me talk you through it. VGC stands for Video Game Championships, and it's basically what we call competitive Pokémon battles using the, you guessed it, video games. In the past, the competitive circuit has used whatever the most recent and online mainline release has been to facilitate real-life Pokémon tournaments that might look a little something like this, or this. In a round of VGC, you have an hour to play up to 3 battles using 4 of your 6 Pokémon, in a 2-on-2 format aptly named Doubles. The only constraints are that you can't use 2 of the same held item, or 2 of the same Pokémon on your team. Oh, and all your Pokémon have to be allowed into the Salty Spittoon. These are called regulations, and they're the rosters you'll be building your teams around. In Pokémon Champions, the game launched with Regulation MA and bugs, which means there are 187 Pokémon to choose from, and they're available Megastones to use. No, not you. Building a team isn't exactly my forte. Not because I don't understand the fundamentals at all, but I just trust the experts with these things. Listen, just because I'm a judge for VGC and TCG doesn't mean I've ever claimed to be the one. I use Pikalytics for the most part, which led me to climbing the ladder with a pretty solid team that I felt comfortable with. And with my very first VGC tournament around the corner, I didn't want to be going into this underprepared. So it just made sense that I was clearly doing something right, and the local meta's a Wild West anyway. So let's do a roll call of the team I took to the tournament. Mega Charizard Y. He's from an online distribution in 2014, and I've grabbed him from the archives to set up Sunlight and do psychological damage. Whether that's me or my opponent, who knows? Venusaur. A raid boss I fought in Sword and Shield, with Chlorophyll boosting his speed in Mega Charizard Sunlight, Venusaur wants to get off strong attacks like Giga Drain and Sludge Bomb while throwing out some sleep powder just in case we need to buy time. Toxapex. A fringe pick, but I was getting a fair few wins on unpredictability, and she put in the work as a physical wall where I can make use of Liquidation's defense drop and poison shenanigans. Garchomp. The man needs no real introduction, but I trained a new one up in Scarlet and Violet as a strong, speedy attacker. Earthquake and Dragonclaw would become some devastating hits, and somebody had to throw rocks if there was another Charizard. Incineroar. Wow, shocking, one of the top picked Pokemon in every format since it was introduced. Listen, if you want to win, you need to pick who wins to learn the game. This is a lesson I am learning. Incineroar just is that guy, and I wasn't going to go into this without my own. He's bulky, he's got enough attack at base to get by, and Intimidate speaks for itself. And finally, Empoleon. There are other water picks I could have chosen to strengthen out my team's attack core, like a Basculegion or a Milotic, but that's my baby. No, not just my favourite Pokemon, but I've been climbing the ladder with my very first Empoleon. He is my starter. This old one's gonna surf the old-fashioned way. With Champions, I don't know. I've just been waxing nostalgia recently, and wanted to play Empoleon as a pick nobody really expected. It falls behind a bit in being a one-trick pony meta-wise, but hey, this was locals and I know my place. If I wasn't gonna be on the podium, I was at least gonna get some practice in with my boy. With my team set, I made sure to pack my bag with a Switch charger, a notepad I didn't use, and some sleeves for the prize packs we'd get as participation. Oh, and a team sheet. Rocking up to the store, there was a room full of new faces, which kind of surprised me as someone who ran TCG tournaments there. Goes to show how a lot of people in the fandom really do pick their flavour. It's nice, and meant I had a lot of new people to get to know throughout the night. But this wasn't just about making friends. It was game time, and I got my first pairing. Round 1 was against Mega Frostlass, who, for the sake of reminding people I'm a gay man with taste, shall be called Mother from now on. This was a team I had an okay matchup against from my online experience. But this is Locals, the Wild West of gaming. We traded team sheets, I picked my 4, and we headed into game 1. My opponent led with Sneasler and Hisui and Arcanine. I led with Toxapex and Empoleon. Whenever there's an Intimidate about, I try and get the most from Empoleon's competitive ability, but because of Sneasler's close combat, I wanted to play a bit more defensively. That's all well and good, until Mother enters the fray. When Mother Mega Evolves, she gains Snow Warning, just like a Bomb of Snow, which lets her easily set up Aurora Veil. This would halve all damage that would come their team's way. Predicting a knockout on Empoleon, I got him out of there and decided to pivot into Charizard, who would be fighting for the weather after he Mega Evolved. I tagged Empoleon back in since, honestly, it's not looking great for him, and I'd need Toxapex more later to stall out Toxic Poison on Mother. I hope that doesn't get too old. Oh well. Charizard Mega Evolved but was knocked straight out by Sneasler's Diaclaw, which isn't great, again, but at least now I'd have Venusaur's speed boost up when he would come in. I put myself in a bad position, and started doing this fun thing called misplaying. I locked in Surf knowing full well that he'd get thrown out of the ring by close combat, and even then, probably should have just gone to Toxapex. Especially as Mother saved her Snow for later, and brought in Primarina. With all 4 Pokemon remaining on my opponent's side, they had all the tools they needed to just get strong hits off and take game 1, even with Toxapex trying to stall as much as she could. That's fine though. This was a best of 3 tournament and I had another chance to go for the win. The difference being that we both knew our key strategies this time. My opponent led with Mother and Sneasler. Fun, and I decided to lead with Toxapex and Incineroar. I figured that my opponent wouldn't lead with Arcanine again, so I'd pivot to my own Intimidate, seeing as Sneasler was so strong last game. And every game. With Snow Veil set up, I thought it best to try and get the defense drop on Sneasler since everyone just loves to fake out Incineroar. Not that I blame them. I completely forgot though that Sneasler is the Incineroar ender before anything, as it does exactly what Sneasler does, and even Arcanine came out to give a farewell Intimidate. I decided now's the right time to bring out Charizard to try and lure some Sneasler gaming with some switching. If they Diaclawed into Charizard, that'd be no joke. But if they Diaclawed into Venusaur, well, at least it's not Charizard. Primarina traded places with Arcanine, while I kept chipping down Sneasler with Liquidation. But as soon as Primarina entered her Mind Palace, I knew that this wasn't going to be fun. Sneasler takes out Venusaur, Liquidation gets the Revenge knockout, and both of our fire types hit the field. Only problem is, they still have Mother. After I got the lay of the land with some protects to gauge what the speed priority would be like, I decided, screw it. Let there be sunlight, and if I'm out, I'm out. I was so out. I couldn't have been more out. 2-0 to my opponent, I sat very politely for my next round. Goodbye, Mother. Coming into round 2, I was up against a Mega Crabominable Trick Room team, and I locked in. I locked in so bad that I forgot to record the games, and oh, I won. Typical. Look, it's not my fault that I was too busy pivoting around Slowking's Chilly Reception and Trick Room that all I can remember was seeing the event horizon between the mainframe and also taking names. After returning to my mortal body, I checked out my round 3 opponent's team sheet. Turns out, I didn't have to, because their lucky buddies on the table were some Tyranitar and Garchomp plushies. Yeah, that's right. More weather. Where did Charizard go? Hey! Come back here! We're in this now. Those games were intense, and a real back and forth between setting up my son and taking KOs pretty evenly. My opponent took the first win, I took the second, which meant Game 3 would decide final placings entirely, as we were very much the last matchup that needed to finish before the night could end. Since I didn't want to get too distracted, I didn't end up filming all 3 matches again. As much as I commend and respect the people that can do this kind of thing regularly, I'll be honest, I think I need to have a bit more of a comfortable setup before I can think of filming more VGC in person again. I just get a bit too distracted by every camera shake and making sure my phone isn't on the precipice. What I can show you though, is the last turn of our last game. You don't want to miss this. Now, was that not worthy of the world stage? That was modern day poetry. Of course the last two standing would be my opponent's little buddies. Congratulations to them. Very, very good match. Now, it's been some time since that tournament ended, and I've had a lot of thoughts about where I want to take this sprouting VGC career of mine, and I'm gonna keep it casual. If you couldn't tell, I'm not the most aggressively competitive person. I love a match and I love a game, but I'm not really hung up or willing to dedicate the time needed to be the very best. I'm much more invested in making sure that this community can grow, so I think I'll keep coming around to help facilitate locals as a judge. Make sure everyone's got their team sheets in order, you know, and directing them to the nearest plug socket. What about you? Are you enjoying Pokémon Champions? How are you finding the format? Or maybe there's a player you know who you're rooting for in this upcoming season. Let's talk about it in the comments. If you want to make me smile today, you can support me by liking the video you just watched, or on Ko-fi where you can not only donate, but download my book of Pokemon-inspired legends, Tales Once Lost. Follow my socials, subscribe to see what I get up to, and maybe, just maybe, we can see each other again.